What's up all you cool snakes and neonates, how's it going? I hope you guys are all keeping well. So contrary to the last video, but we also mentioned this in the last video, it's going to be a little bit of a down video this time. As always, it's not all going to be doom and gloom. There will be a little bit of happiness at the end, but this is a video update on what I touched on in the last video, which is we lost our female red-tailed boa, Ruby. To take you back to the beginning of where it all started, one day I took her out and I noticed there was like a squelchy sort of noise as she went through your hands, like a crackling inside of her that you could feel. There was a bit of open mouth breathing. It was textbook sort of respiratory infection behaviour. Now, she'd been on a car journey a week before I noticed these symptoms. At that point, I was wondering if she'd maybe picked up a respiratory infection from the car journey a week prior, because it would have been textbook. It's entirely possible. It would have been no one's fault. It's just sometimes snakes can catch a draft or a chill or something. Just like we can. Respiratory infection is basically a cold. Just for a snake, they can't cough or sneeze up the mucus again, and it can be fatal. They can drown in their own mucus. So after we noticed those symptoms, phoned the vet. They were like, right, make a homemade nebulizer. So I made a homemade nebulizer. I think I maybe touched on this in a recent video, I'm not sure, but I made a homemade nebulizer out of a box, put a hole in it with a humidifier, heat mat underneath, and pumped a specific measurement of F10 through the humidifier into this box, put Ruby inside of it, and this was a sort of a homemade nebulizer thing. Vet said that was the best course of action to take because the respiratory didn't seem like a very bad one at the time. However, after about 3 weeks of the F10, I noticed a lump come up in her neck now. Not just a swollen glottis like she had before. And I thought, oh, really bad. Back down to the vet we go. So they gave us about a month, or it was a month, of injections. There was an anti-inflammatory, an antibiotic, and a painkillery kind of thing. So you get a nice fleshy bit either side of the spine. Then underneath the scale. So we went through about a month of these injections, and I did them to the T. I think one was every 3 days, one was every 4 days. It's actually quite a while ago now that this has happened. But yeah, I wrote it down in the book. I made sure I gave her on the dot every day she was supposed to, because one injection every 2 days and one every 3 days gets all muddled up over the month. So I made sure, because the way my mind works, I wrote them all down in a notepad. I had them all planned out. Everything was done to the book, doing the best we can for our Ruby. So I get through the month of treatment. 3 days before the treatment was due to end, I noticed the lump on her throat massively increase in size. It was just between doses. It literally I just checked on her to give her her second last dose, and it was just boom. It was huge on her. Gave her that last dose, and then I noticed further down there appeared to be another lump. Now, with the first lump, the second lump, it then dawned on me there's a strong chance that the swollen glottis was not in fact a respiratory, it was a lump. Which would explain why it was sort of swollen and the glottis was pushed to the side and things like that. And the F10 didn't make any odds to it at all. It wasn't a respiratory, it turned out it was a first lump. So boom, straight back down to the vet again. Bear in mind, this is 3 trips to Falkirk, bunch of different treatments. It was getting expensive at this point. And then we got down to the vets, and they said, right, look, we're going to be honest, we're going to have to do a biopsy, an x-ray, all this stuff. It's going to be £600 just to find out what's wrong with her. It's going to be, and then after that, you're talking cutting bits out of her. You're about £1,000 in treatment. And she said because of the fact that the lumps are spreading, there's no guarantee we can get all the lumps. There's a strong chance you would be putting her through a lot of stress for treatment that probably isn't going to work. So unfortunately, after about an hour of humming and hawing, and I'm not going to lie, crying in the vets, the poor vet and my friend Will was down there with me, had to put up with me bawling my eyes out like a little baby in the veterinary clinic, because it had hit me that I had to say goodbye to her. We had to euthanize her there and then. It was the best thing to do. Even though she was full of lumps, she was still full of energy. She was still so healthy, which probably made it even more heartbreaking, but it was better than letting her suffer and deteriorate and the quality of her life, because she was still eating, but that point where I seen the lump had like exploded in size, it would have been painful for her to eat. Even though she would have, a typical boa, she would have eaten anyway. It would have been really discomfortable for her. So we chose to put her down. So that's what happened to Ruby. A little bit that gave me a bit of comfort in the way she went was when I drove down to Falkirk to the vets. Went into the vet, and then Will, my friend Will, met me in the vet, and he said, how is she doing? So I pulled Ruby out in the waiting room and showed Will Ruby and showed her the lump and stuff like that. There was an elderly lady at the counter, and she sort of came over and she says, after I put Ruby back, she said, oh, I seen your snake, can I have a look? So I took Ruby out and we handled Ruby, and she got to know Ruby, and she was like, I've never seen a snake before in my life. She was like, this is amazing. And it kind of gave me a bit of comfort that in Ruby's last hour of life or so, she managed just one more person. She managed to inspire or to change one more person's life right at the end, which gave me a little bit of comfort that just at the end she managed to do just what she did her whole life on the YouTube channel, in the Zoo to You and things like that. It's just, even in her last hour, massive swollen neck, she was probably uncomfortable, and she was still such an angel, and she managed to show this elderly lady that not all snakes are bad, and that they are, you know, lovely. A lot of snakes are not what they're shown to be, and this old lady went home with a completely changed perspective on snakes, thanks to Ruby. So yeah, unfortunately, that is the story of what happened with Ruby. Now, as I always say, if we have a sad episode, we try not to end it on a bad note. We don't have any new animals to show you guys today, unfortunately. Seems to be in the way of it when we lose an animal. It may seem like we've had a few animals pass away in the past year, but I've kept exotic animals for like 17 years, and this past year we've lost 2 animals already. That's about the only animals I've really lost, other than my first royal python. In the past 17 years, it's very rare we have animals pass away. It's just been really unfortunate. Ruby's had cancer, and Aurora we had at the beginning of the year passed away. It was actually while we were focused on Ruby at the beginning of her treatment that Aurora passed away. So we were focusing on Ruby, and I think that's how I missed what happened with Aurora. You might notice new surroundings. I've actually moved house. There's not been an episode for a while. Things have been mental. Changes in life, changes in housing. Lots of stuff been going on. So I'm actually in a new house. Next episode, I'll probably do a full zoo tour. I'll let you guys see all the updated animals, what's here, what's no longer here, where everyone is in the new house, and how they're set up. Right now, we're so fresh in this new house. There are vivarium glasses that are in upside down, backwards, messy. There's so much to do in this animal room, and I just don't have the time for it right at this moment. I was supposed to get some more of my tattoo was booked in to get done on my sleeve today, and the guy has been messing me around for like 3-4 months now, and I turned up and I went in, and he, even though he's had months and months to plan this, he's known what I've wanted months, which is I want a Parenti monitor up my arm, up here. He turned round to me today, the second time I turned up for the tattoo, and he said, do you know what, I don't want to do it because I don't like doing realism. I was like, great. So I've come home and I decided, you know what, I'm going to get you guys caught up with what happened with Ruby and get you guys a little video put out. And then in the next video, once everything's cleaned and tidied, we will get a zoo tour going for you guys. So as always, guys, don't expect you have to enjoy this one, but don't forget to like the video, comment on the video. You can subscribe through my ugly mug right there. There'll be a random video for you up there and a random video for you down there. For me and the rest of the gang, take it easy, guys. Peace.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.